Passengers scrambled to get a seat on the bus. One woman remains calm. The 65-year-old doesn't have to pay to ride and always finds a seat waiting for her. She leaves her house at 8:50 a.m. to catch the bus and has another 3 hours of ride time ahead of her. It is almost noon by the time she makes it to her workplace. Alteng quickly picks up sheets of wool and begins the long process of felt making.
The felt art has a lot of variety. Slippers, shoes, boots can be made with felt. If someone has an interest, it's possible to learn. I think so.
Felt is a staple of Mongolia, dating back to the 13th century when herders began using animal fur for rugs, shoes, and other things. After thinning out the wool, she shapes it into a felt shoe pattern. She then brings her work to a larger table where her co-workers are already busy working on their felt shoes.
Since I went to felt training, I became one of felt group.
Alteng has only been making felt shoes for 3 months. Adra, the organization which sponsors the felt workshop, taught her how to make felt shoes for the winter and use her land for gardening in the summer. Through Adra, she has gained a sense of community and a new way to support herself. When Alteng isn't at work, she stays tucked away in her house in Gir district, a residential area of houses and circular felt insulated tents. In this area, residents have little access to water, sanitation, and have no indoor plumbing. Mongolia's air is polluted because families use coal for heat, and coal-burning power plants use it to generate electricity. the pollution is a serious health hazard for everyone.
The pollution doesn't bother me. I don't worry about it. I don't use a mask. I'm one of the pollution sources.
Alteng spends hours embroidering designs onto the shoe she will give to her family. She doesn't make the shoes for profit. Felt making is her newfound interest, her passion.
Before, I couldn't do anything with felt. Now I'm learning. I understand that humans are always learning until they die, and life is so wealthy. I asked them how their parents earn money. They said by working. I asked them how do they work. They say by suffering.
Garbage picking is a job that for some is their only option. For the workers in the dump, it is the only jobs they can have. The Velu kindergarten was established in hopes to give pickers' children a chance to get a basic education. Many of the parents either do not have the money to afford school or are living in Ulaanbaatar under the poverty line.
They're like my children. I think every child must have an equal opportunity.
Solong Bor was once a garbage picker in a garbage dump located right outside of Ulaanbaatar. Solong was able to apply for a scholarship through the Value Foundation, which allowed her to become a teacher. The Value Foundation opened the kindergarten school 5 years ago. Compared to other public schools, this provides the children a place where they are not ridiculed.
The happiest moment for me is when the kids graduate and they're proudly showing what they learned to their parents. And it makes their parents happy. It's in that moment I'm also happy. Because at that precious moment, I feel like the teacher I am.
The Mongolia Judo Association, located in the Sports Training Center, brings the national team and other students to train for hours each night.
Judo shows the unity of people and a type of wrestling. The reason why we're training is to prepare to be an Olympic athlete and to win the gold medal.
Surun is working to become judo referee. She said originally she got her inspiration in 2008 when a judo athlete was the first to ever win a gold medal for Mongolia.
I'm waiting for the moment that I will be able to be a referee in the Olympics.
Judo is newer in Mongolia when compared to traditional wrestling, a sport started back in the 1600s. While wrestling has been around for many years, females are not allowed to participate, so they practice judo. In the past, Mongolian judo wrestlers have won 8 Olympic medals in the sport, which is only one less than in traditional wrestling.
Our goal is to get into the world and win the gold medal in the Olympics.
A shirtless man sits shivering in the middle of Ulaanbaatar, exposed to temperatures as low as minus 20 degrees. People crowd around, offering their jackets to protect him from the cold. About 40 feet away, the statue of Genghis Khan overlooks the scene unfolding in Sukhwatar Square. December 27, 2018, thousands of demonstrators gathered to protest the actions of prominent political figures. Parliamentary Speaker Ingpolt Miekomp had allegedly sold off government positions for an estimated $23 million.
I'm here to get rid of Inkbolt and help our people. I also want all these corrupt politicians fired and get honest people elected.
Our country is in bad shape. My country is calling me. My people are calling me. I don't care if it's cold.
Mongolia is fairly new to democracy, with its first constitution passed in 1992 after decades of communist rule. Since then, however, Mongolia has constantly had to deal with political instability. The country has been through 15 cabinets, each lasting an average of 2 years. Recently, major problems such as air pollution and health issues have plagued Mongolians. Many believe they stem from corruption in their government. Several politicians have been accused of plundering the country's resources, which were meant to solve public problems.
It is obvious what this is doing to the country. Mining all over, selling land to the foreigners, smuggling animals. I don't know what is next. I want this country's future to be bright, where everyone is healthy, and I want this land to be whole again.
Up until 10 years ago, she was living life in Australia with her husband and 2 kids. She had always had questions about religion. She was raised Christian but never really found what she was looking for. Before finding Buddhism, Annie Galmo was on a search.
Didn't really know anything about what it meant to be a nun. But then I went back to Australia because this was in the UK, and I had a marriage and had 2 young children. But always I would think in the back of my mind, one day I would really want to be a nun.
Her children were adult, and her husband had parted by 2009 when she became ordained and moved to Mongolia to be the resident teacher as one of the 7 Buddhist nuns in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia.
Take your hands away from your head now.
I started listening to the Lama, and in about 2-3 days I started, wow, so many answers were coming to my questions, and it was like there was a sense of familiarity that I'd somehow heard these teachings before. You're not encouraged to become a blind believer. In fact, quite the opposite. We're taught not to accept just because you hear.
In 2017, the nuns were told that Dolmaling Nunnery should no longer be lived in because the building was old and expensive to heat in the cold winter months. The Dolmaling Nunnery sits empty. A donor gave the nuns land as a site for a future nunnery. They live in a Buddhist center near the downtown area of Ulaanbaatar. The Buddhist center took the nuns in, but is open for anyone to come to. The center is not solely the nuns to have. This is their temporary home. A new nunnery could take more than 3 years to be built. Buddhism is a tradition that focuses on personal spiritual development.
So Buddhism is, of course, one of the major world religions, recognized as a world religion, but in my own experience and practice, I experience it very much as a way of life. But for Buddhism, everything that we learn within the teachings is something that is actually applicable to the life.
Her daily routine mirrors those of the nuns: meditation and prayer in the morning, followed by classes in the afternoons, and participating in ritual ceremonies. She also does administrative work. The nuns may be living in a shared space right now, but their religious beliefs and practices remain strong.
The future, I think it's going to take time. These women are really pioneers. We don't have role models of nuns previous to the Soviet time. So it's not like they can look around and see how other nunneries run in Mongolia. And I think that if they hang in there, the future is, maybe it's not going to be big, but I think it will be a good, stable basis, a good stable nunnery.
The volunteers shuffle around to get prepared for the first group of people, those outside just waiting to be let in. On Christmas Day, for the New Year's celebration, 130 people pushed their way into the building for one thing: soup. The soup kitchen is founded by the Buddhist Center and is located in one of the poorest districts in Ulaanbaatar and serves those people living there.
So quite often we try to not only give food, but also basically to share our love with them. So because our world is so interdependent, so that is why it's so important to work together with others. So then we could actually benefit even more.
During the celebration, Grandfather Winter came to help hand out gifts. The whole celebration lasted around 3 hours. The music still could be heard long after the last person had left. It's late Sunday morning as lunch preparation begins. Typically, 60-year-old Tsitsig Badarch wouldn't be spending her Sunday in her apartment, but the New Year holiday changed that. For 20 years, she has been teaching young girls contortionism in a dance studio she runs in Ulaanbaatar.
It's the thing I love doing. It's my favorite job.
Зүгээр тайсан дээр гараад нэх гоё нуграалтай хүмүүстэй тийм гоё таашаал өгвөл
Aesthetic-wise, contortionism is very pleasing and has so much beauty in it. Our only goal is to show the audience a great performance. But beyond that, they don't know how much effort and work we put into this. They don't know how much time we spend just to show one performance. They think it's really easy.
Contortionism focuses on flexibility, mainly dealing with the spine. Contortionists make the techniques look easy, but it's unnatural and sometimes uncomfortable. Tsitsig describes contortionism as the art of patience. She and 2 other women teach 40 students from ages 5 to 27 with classes every day of the week. She said she cares for each one of her students and they show respect towards her. Each practice starts with stretching. but typically end with young girls crying and screaming in pain.
They spread good energies because they're children. I try not to hurt them and teach the students from the bottom of my heart.
Titik believes with her training, a new skill that can take someone 2 months to learn would only take her students 1 month.
It's all for their own good. Mongolian girls are very flexible. Contortionists have a passion to do it from their early age, and they're very talented. They practice to develop their talent.
Starting at age 12, Titik performed around the world in the circus. She still talks about her first performance where she traveled to Moscow, Russia. Titik said contortionism started in the 1970s and continues to develop in Mongolia. The country has improved the art into techniques in the air and on top of other contortionists. Cirque du Soleil is known to hire Mongolian contortionists almost exclusively.
At first, I started with knowing nothing about it, and started because I was curious. After I started doing it, I started to love what I was doing. I love the applause of the audience and the feeling I get from it.
Takhtun hustles around the busy hotel kitchen. He chops meat, makes dumplings, and plates the food. Yet only one tune plays in the back of his mind. A tune that was developed in the Altai Mountains, a place where Mongolia, China, Russia, and Kazakhstan come together. Takhtun's people learned this tune centuries ago when they lived in these mountains, and now he works hard to keep the traditional song alive. Mongolian throat singers use guttural style overtone chanting and singing to tell epics and other stories. Takhtun's vocal teacher has one piece of advice he always gives students.
I tell them before you learn this art, you should have knowledge of nature.
Takhtun isn't a professional throat singer and doesn't want to be. He learns so he can preserve this Mongolian cultural heritage and teach it to students of his own when he is ready.
I want to keep the ancient words and sounds and have a plan to show it to the people, only when I'm ready. In 20 or 50 years, original throat singing will be forgotten, and at that time, I want to recover it.
Miners die easily in the mountain. Accidents occur often in the mines. Sign a contract and they go down to the mine. That's it. People think it's easy to make money by mining, but it is not that easy. We suffer to make some money.
In Nalakh, a small community about 1.5 hours outside of Ulaanbaatar, there are 3 primary jobs: the brick factory, construction work, and mining. For many miners, it is a family business, one that has spanned many generations. Dating all the way back to 1922, when the first state-owned mine opened in Nalakh. Their grandfathers, fathers, brothers, and sisters did it, and now it is their turn. Channel News Asia reported that many of the mines in Nalakh are privately owned. There are no safety standards, no air quality test, and that the mines are prone to regular collapse. While injuries and cave-ins are a great concern, a constant fear is running out of fresh air. Miners have to dig over 60 meters to reach the coal. At that depth, the tunnels have very poor air circulation and are only wide enough for one worker. Workers will check on one another to make sure they are doing well, and then they will climb all the way back up.
When we train and teach those people who don't know how to work, we tell them, don't get into that hole. There is no air. Things happen fast in airless areas.
To work is a life requirement. Heavy-duty jobs are hard for those who are aged.
Mining in Mongolia has no age restrictions, so even those who are elderly can always find work in the mines. Miners work about 12 to 15 hours a day so they can make enough money for their families. Oftentimes, it is just enough to buy food and pay their bills.
It's for the family, the kids. They can't just sit there and do nothing.
Coal from the site is sold to a vendor who then takes the coal to Ulaanbaatar. Nalech provides Ulaanbaatar with 75% of the coal used within the city. Without coal, people in Ulaanbaatar could not do many of their daily tasks or keep their homes warm during the cold winter months. Without the miners, coal would not be accessible to families who need it the most. Tokbair Horl, or Togo as his friends call him, is a herder. He continues the herding lifestyle that his family has done for several generations. He lives 2 hours outside of Ulaanbaatar with his wife Tuya and their 2 dogs, Arslan and Matzale. Wolves are the main threat to his livestock. At night, they emerge from the forest nearby to prowl and hunt. To protect against them, herders use guard dogs. For Mongolians, the ideal dog for this job is the banjar, a dog unique to Mongolia. They have adapted to live in the harsh Mongolian climate.
Before the banjar, wolves would just come into the animal fence and take away our livestock. After we got the dogs, we haven't lost any animals to them.
Mongolians from both the city and rural areas use the banjar as guard dogs.
Banjar dogs were used in war during the time of Genghis Khan. Banjars are known as herders or shepherds, so our ancestors domesticated them many centuries ago.
However, during Soviet rule of Mongolia, many banjars were taken away from herders and killed.
There was a rumor in the 60s that said that the Banjar dogs were spreading disease. Because of this, many of them were exterminated. I saw the end of this era. In 1997, When I went to the countryside, I saw two men shooting the dogs. I asked, what was this about? They said to prevent the spread of disease caused by the dogs.
The dog was almost wiped out. After Soviet rule ended in the 1990s, Mongolians wanted to bring back the dog. By that time, the Banjar had been mixed with many foreign breeds. A search was done to find the purest dogs to restore the Banjar. Although still considered rare, their numbers are rising. Mongolian dog breeders are now attempting to give the Banjar international recognition.
Banjars have many features. For example, they are good with babysitting, just like golden retrievers. But when it comes time to protecting the herd, Banjars are just as good at guarding. Banjar dogs are inseparable from herder families. You can't imagine herders without them.
Banjars are highly prized by Mongolians and pure dogs are expensive.
I traded Arslan for 40 male goats. We bought Mazzella when she was a baby for $190. I have nearly 60 cows and 200 sheep and goats. It's enough for my lifestyle.
Every day he releases them to nearby pastures to find food, while the dogs wander the landscape. Milk is their main source of income, making them around $190 a month. The milk is also used to cook and make milk tea.
Herders, livestock, and the Banjar combined represent Mongolian nomadic culture. This unique dog is only found in Mongolia. Without it, our nomadic culture is imperfect and incomplete.